Sunday, October 23rd, meet us at Market Street in Viera for the Black and White Brunch and Art Auction, benefiting Helping Seniors of Brevard County. There's an exquisite brunch, a silent auction including Oriental rugs, fine art, sports, and space memorabilia, and our live auction featuring paintings and jewelry, and our beautiful Win the Jaguar 1992 XJS. All proceeds supporting Helping Seniors of Brevard. Call 473-7770 for information or visit helpingseniorsofbrevard.org. The views expressed on the following program are those of the hosts, callers, and guests, and are not necessarily those of WMEL staff, management, or advertisers.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Kay Kaiser, the Information Specialist for Helping Seniors of Brevard. I'm sitting in for our President, Founder Joe Steckler today, and I want to welcome everyone to the program. We've got a really interesting lineup here today, so be sure to take down some and get some paper handy, because I think you might want to jot some numbers down. And I'm going to do something a little bit different here today. I want to open up the mic and callers and welcome them if they have any questions for our guest today. The number to dial for 1060 WMEL is 321-241-1060. So we welcome any callers. If you have any questions, our guest, Barbara McIntyre, will be happy to answer. But before I go any farther, I want to remind people what Helping Seniors is all about. Our mission is kind of to improve the quality of life for seniors and to provide information, education, and access to resources. So by doing that, we reach out on radio, which we're listening to today. We have television programs that are aired 5 days a week, 3 times a day, and we have an 8-page newsletter in Senior Scene magazine, as well as Spotlight magazine, Aldea Today, Ebony News Today, and Barefoot Tatler, Hometown News. So all of the information, we're trying to help educate and inform our listeners, our readers, and our viewers. So it's really important, because without information or education, you may be lost. And we always recommend that people call Helping Seniors of Brevard. Our telephone number is 321-473-7770. And by all means, if you don't get somebody live, which is usually me, by all means leave a message, because we have our virtual message backed up 3 times on 3 computers, so we will definitely return your call. But in order to make this program possible, we have partners that participate with us to help get that information out through the various outreach media. So let me give a special thanks out to Aldea Today, Barbara McIntyre, who's our guest today, who is a reverse mortgage specialist. So we're going to learn a lot about the changes in that market, so stay tuned. Don't switch your dial, because it's invaluable information. We also thank Brevard Chiropractic and Injury Center, as well as Neurogenics Nerve Center of Rockledge, Canadian Meds of Melbourne. Boy, if you ever want to save money on medications, he can save, from what I understand, up to 90% on various medications. So there are other solutions for you out there, folks. If you're taking a lot of medications, by all means, that's why we try to reach out to our various businesses and services to provide good services and trustworthy services to our seniors in Brevard County. We also thank Cobblestone Real Estate, which is the Waters, Courtney and Braswell Financial Group, Ebony News Today, Ear Care, which is audiologists, Handy Pro, the Space Coast. Don't let that name fool you either. She is a now general contractor, and she specializes in home modifications to make it safe for seniors living in their home. Hometown News, we love them as well, because they have now upped our column from Joe Steckler to not just once a month, but twice a month. So people do indeed read that newspaper. Great, great information. In-home personal services, Kindred at Home, Love and Home Care Nurse Registry, and Organized Creative Designs. And what she does, Carla Pickerel, she will come in and help you get organized. Her background was a registered nurse, so she actually can take a little bit more of an assessment on what might make you safe in your home and make those modifications options. And if it's not for you, what about your relatives that might be disabled too? So a lot of things that, have come along that now the resources are continuing to grow, and we are very thankful because it really makes a big difference in how we can help get those resources to our incoming callers reaching out for help. So without further ado, let me welcome to our program today Barbara McIntyre. Welcome.
Thanks, Kay. Nice to be here.
Now, Barbara, you are with the company called
Reverse Mortgage Funding.
Okay.
It's been around quite some time, and it actually is one of the largest. I believe the statistics are about one of every four reverse mortgages written in the United States is written by our company.
Oh, my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
So they're all throughout the United States.
That's
not
right.
Just locally here.
That's right.
I know we were talking briefly before the program, and the fact that how the heck did you get started in this field? A little bit.
It's interesting because I really didn't have any idea of what it was I wanted to do, but one thing I did know was I was ready to make a change in my career path, and I wanted it to be something that would actually make a difference. And so, without sounding a little hokey, I just eventually landed, I got a mortgage license and then was introduced right away to this product.
Wow.
And then right away, and that was probably about 12 years ago, and I immediately knew, this is what I meant to do, because it really is a mortgage product that can really help seniors accomplish what they need to do with accessing some of their home equity.
Absolutely. Well, I believe in that strongly. I think a lot of things have changed throughout the years, but you personally have been involved 12 years in this business. I didn't realize that long.
Oh, yes. And I've seen a lot of changes over those 12 years.
Oh, yes.
All for the better. So where a lot of people have an understanding of the reverse mortgage product and they think, oh, goodness, this is a product that you should stay away from because the bank somehow owns your house, or there'll be no equity left for the children, or some nightmare that they think they've heard. It's not true.
They have so many misconceptions about it.
Exactly.
I can recall working at a retirement community, and they wanted to move into an independent living facility at that point, and they said, well, I can't move in because I can't sell my house. I've got a reverse mortgage on it. What do I do? So, I wish I would have known you back then.
I do too, because those folks would have known, because it's always been just a mortgage. The reverse mortgage has just been a lien interest on a property. Okay. So anyone with a reverse mortgage can decide to sell their home anytime they want because they own it.
Well, and that's a valid point. I know that, you even went out so far. I had a lady call me that had been contacted by a fellow in Orlando, and she was totally confused. What do I do? I mean, Barbara McIntyre, you took your time at no expense and called that lady to help assure her and explain. So that's one thing that I have to stress about you, Barbara McIntyre, is the fact that you not only understand, you reach out and you try to educate, and that's important with what we do in helping seniors in our outreach media, to direct those people to understand more thoroughly what it's all about. Because, I don't know about the document paper amount in a reverse mortgage, but they probably either can't read as well as they used to. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Not only they can't read, but they just don't understand what they are reading.
And that's really true of any mortgage document. I
mean,
the legalese that goes along with a mortgage is baffling for most people. And so I appreciate what you said, Kay, because that's exactly how I feel. It's an education, and I would just as soon go talk to someone about a mortgage they already had, they've already gotten and don't understand,
right,
as someone who's considering one. And so education really is the key. My favorite phrase is knowledge is power.
Oh, I was going to say that. You beat me to the punch. But it is true.
It absolutely
is true. And so many people, they think, well, oh, gee, I'm in a situation here. I'm having some, or let's say a lady loses her husband, and they've got their house actually fully paid for. But maybe for her, she didn't have long-term care insurance or a variety of different things, and thinking, oh, gee, what do I do? Where do I go? What if? And that's another thing that I always say to people, what if? And so to plan ahead is vital. And like you said, education is powerful.
Absolutely.
So let's go back to some basics, Barbara McIntyre. And again, I want to welcome any callers. If you'd like to call into the program today, you can call 1060 WMEL. That number is 321-241-1060. Barbara will be more than happy to take your call. And we'll repeat her number here coming up, as well as helping seniors. So I think the bottom line is, let's talk about what exactly is a reverse mortgage. How do we identify that with home equity loan versus?
Okay, that's a very good question. The reverse mortgage can be very similar to a home equity line of credit. We call a HELOC from a bank.
Okay.
It's a feature that exists within the reverse mortgage, is a line of credit feature. So those are very similar when you compare them.
Okay.
And how they're similar is that you're actually just getting access to a portion of your home's equity.
Right.
And then it's available to you when you need it.
But on a home equity loan, if I'm to be understanding correctly, you have to make monthly payments on
Absolutely.
that. Isn't that a big difference between?
It is a big difference between. Now, with that being said, the home equity line of credit that a bank gives and requires a principal and interest, a lot of them nowadays are requiring a principal and interest payment, not just interest.
Okay.
And a line of credit with a reverse mortgage, you can actually make payments if you choose to.
To what advantage would that be if somebody wants to make payments in a reverse mortgage versus not making them?
If you make payments into a reverse mortgage, you actually can redraw the funds anytime you want.
Okay.
So it's revolving. It's like a revolving line.
Okay.
And the difference between the bank's program is that the line of credit in the reverse mortgage can never be called due or reduced or the payment required. So as long as you live in the house, you have this line of credit that actually has a feature that allows it to grow, giving access to more equity over time. And this is a complicated feature.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because I think of people listening here today may not have any idea of, wait a minute, you mean that money could grow over the years?
Yes.
How can that be?
Well, in the mortgage contract, and first I'll say, the reason is the assumption is your house is appreciating and you're getting older. And if you're getting older...
Those are two facts.
Those are two facts.
You can't take those away.
No, you can't. So on that assumption, then this mortgage agreement says that the availability of your equity is going to be increasing at a rate of growth equal to an interest rate.
Okay.
So
let's talk about an example on that. Let's say... Give a number out.
Okay, let's say your line of credit with your home is $100,000.
Okay.
And let's say the interest rate that you have on the debt itself is 4.5%.
Okay.
And then there's mortgage insurance premium that's part of this. So that is 1.25%.
Now that's different than homeowners insurance. So let's make sure people understand that.
Right.
Okay.
It's insurance that is given by FHA.
Okay.
Because this is an FHA insured loan. So if the interest rate is 4.5 and the mortgage insurance premium is 1.25, then that is 5.75 total.
Right.
So that is what is going to grow the line of credit. Okay, and it's in the mortgage agreement. So even if your house should not have a appreciation, if we had a declining real estate market, it wouldn't matter. That line of credit is still going to grow because it's not tied to the home's value. It's based on that interest rate, and it's in the mortgage document.
Now, that's a set number, that percentage then? I mean, to start with, it's not going to decrease?
It could decrease because
I want to understand that, too.
It could decrease,
Okay.
and it could increase because
Okay.
every year the interest rate is going to adjust.
It's a variable.
It's a variable rate.
Right.
So the products within the reverse mortgage that give you the benefits and features like the growing line of credit, the ability to get a payment for life coming to you to add to your Social Security, the ability to take draws out of that line of credit for any amount and to repay it. They are all benefits and features of the variable rate reverse mortgage.
Okay. Barbara McIntyre, I'd ask people at the onset of the program today to grab a piece of paper and a pen or pencil, because how would they get in touch with you, Barbara McIntyre?
How they would get in touch with me, my phone number is 321-259-7880.
Okay, let's say that one more time here.
That's 321-259-7880.
Okay, perfect. Well, that's an easy number to remember, I think,
Absolutely.
too. Well, let's go back to also some basics, Barbara McIntyre, with reverse mortgage funding. You've been involved in this business for 12 years now. How have you seen personally this reverse mortgage change over the years versus what it is today versus 12 years ago when you even got into the business?
It's changed really dramatically. 12 years ago, it was what we called in the industry, and most people referred to it as, a mortgage of last resort. And the reason,
I've heard that term.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of times it had a bad reputation, because that's what they called it, the mortgage of last resort. And it was used when somebody just flat ran out of money, and at the end of the month they were having to make a decision between buying their medicine or their groceries.
Right.
And when I would meet with a family in their home to talk about the product, and they would fully understand how the product worked, they'd say, well, Barbara, this sounds too good to be true. What's the downside?
Right. Yeah, what is the downside?
And back
Way
then,
back then.
I would say it's the most expensive loan on the planet. And unless you plan on living in your house for, 5 years, it's a very expensive loan to do. So how it has changed is that through regulation that comes directly from FHA, or the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, HUD,
Right.
the regulations have changed, so they have made it much less expensive. It's allowed lenders to give borrowers a lot of options, and those options help control costs.
Okay, that makes
So it
perfect
is no
sense.
longer
Okay.
a really expensive loan. It also is no longer the mortgage of last resort, because we have put into place financial assessment, which means we really help people determine if it's going to help them move forward and stay in their home, or
Right.
if it's really going to be a benefit.
And you've got to determine when you get somebody calling you whether or not it's going to be to their benefit. You look at
Absolutely.
all the financial and all that.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
So that's important too, Barbara McIntyre. I think that basically, we'll go back to some basics here again in the second half to reiterate or repeat the fact that some of these people don't have any clue where to go and what to turn. And I want to say specifically, because I get calls from a lot of senior women. And, during their marriage time, the husband was taking care of all the bookwork. They have no clue. Gee, what are my options? Where do I go? What do I do? And, if their house is completely paid for or almost paid for, this certainly, and maybe perhaps the house needs a few repairs.
Absolutely.
So, but she's not sure where her bank account is and how much she may have eligible for maybe putting on a new roof, for example. And I think, too, it's important to stress to the listening audience today that, from my understanding, this is not, quote, don't say it's not a free ride. The individual taking out a reverse mortgage still has to be responsible for paying homeowners insurance.
Correct.
And the upkeep, but the difference is that their mortgage payment is now disappeared.
That's right. If they had a mortgage, then that's going to be paid off by the reverse mortgage,
Okay.
and they're not required to make a payment, so principal and interest is now in their budget. They don't have to take that out of their budget and send a check every month. They also have access to the reverse mortgage proceeds to pay for their taxes and insurance.
Oh,
So that's another real benefit, is that they have a place to go for those larger costs. A lot of people without a mortgage on their home have gone without homeowners insurance because of the expense, and that's frightening, because if something
How could they go without home insurance? Insurance without, and if they're still paying a mortgage. I didn't
well,
think that.
no, if you don't have a mortgage.
If you don't have a mortgage,
right? And
but
I
if
come
you do,
across that a lot.
wow.
And can you imagine if something happened to the home and you had no insurance? Then what?
Oh my gosh.
So a lot of times people will do the reverse mortgage in order to be able to pay those costs.
Well, I know, but let's clarify that, Barbara McIntyre, for a moment. Those are for people who've already paid off their mortgage, so that if they're not paying homeowners insurance, but if they still have a mortgage,
Then they would have homeowners in place.
They have
yes.
to.
And they will continue to have the insurance in place.
Right. So that part's not going to go away. I just
Right.
wanted to help clarify that a little bit for our
Right.
listeners.
Right.
So there's a big difference, if you still own your home versus, outright paid for versus you're still paying a mortgage.
Right.
And I think that we'll be going into the little more detail about how one can be age-wise, and maybe some of
Right.
your own experience, or how maybe one can even use a reverse mortgage to buy a house.
Absolutely.
Ooh, that sounds intriguing. I made a note of that because I think that is going to be some fascinating information as well. Well, you're listening to My Name is Kay Kaiser. I'm the information specialist for helping seniors of Brevard. I'm sitting in for our president founder, Joe Steckler, today. And my super duper guest is Barbara McIntyre. She is with Reverse Mortgage Funding. So Barbara, let's shout out your number here again. On if they've listened, how can they might be driving along and now maybe they've pulled over. How can they get a hold of you?
They can call me at 321-259-7880.
Okay, so that's area code 321-259-7880. Well, we've got it down to about a 20-second here. We're going to take our first break, and we'll be right back. Stay with us, because this information, I think, is invaluable for those who are considering a reverse mortgage. So we'll be back shortly. Don't change your dial, and lots of information. Thanks for listening. We'll be right back.
Sunday, October 23rd, meet us at Market Street in Vieira for the Black and White Brunch and Art Auction, benefiting Helping Seniors of Brevard County. There's an exquisite brunch, a silent auction including oriental rugs, fine art, sports, and space memorabilia, and our live auction featuring paintings and jewelry, and our beautiful Win the Jaguar 1992 XJS. All proceeds supporting Helping Seniors of Brevard. Call 473-7770 for information, or visit helpingseniorsofbrevard.org.
And now let's get back to Helping Seniors here on AM 1060 WMEL with our guest, and that is Barbara McIntyre, and our special, the head person of the show here, none other than Kay Kaiser. Kay, it's good to have you in here today.
Well, thank you. We just didn't bring Ishka Bickle. Okay, that one went over your head.
No. I just had applause in the background. You didn't. I bet you guys didn't know you have a live studio audience here in WMEL.
You betcha.
You didn't know that, did you?
Listen to the applause,
Yeah,
Barbara.
see there? See, when I come in here to host your show or to run your controls for you, I bring guests with me. So good to have you in here. Kay Kaiser and Barbara McIntyre.
Thank you. Well, welcome back, everyone, to Helping Seniors of Brevard. As you found out, my name is Kay Kaiser. I'm the information specialist for Helping Seniors of Brevard, sitting in for our president, our founder, Mr. Joe Steckler, and my very special guest, Barbara McIntyre with Reverse Mortgage Funding. Welcome back, Barbara.
Well, thank you.
All right. Well, if you just tuned in, you've been on the road and listening to this program, boy, I tell you, there's been a lot of changes, Barbara McIntyre, in reverse mortgage over the years. And I think that if maybe you could just if they just tuned in, let's review that just momentarily, just to refresh, okay?
Okay. Some of the changes, the biggest changes have had to do with the cost of this mortgage. Used to be very, very expensive, and it no longer As a matter of fact, there, some mortgages, some reverse mortgages offer products that have virtually no closing costs. And it's a lot more like what I call forward lending, in that you have the rules around the reverse mortgage are the same, but you have a lot more options about interest rates. And the interest rates and what you select can drive your costs. So that's probably,
sense.
it does. And that's probably the biggest change, in addition to ways now to help determine that borrowers are going to succeed while staying in their house and be able to continue to pay taxes and insurance, homeowners fees, and make it work. Lenders want to be very careful not to set anyone up to fail.
Sure.
So previously, if someone wanted a reverse mortgage and their house would qualify for FHA lending, they could have one.
Okay.
But nowadays we have a program called financial assessment, and that helps determine if we need to do anything like escrow some of the benefits in order to pay the taxes and insurance for the borrower. So it's a lot more, a little more regulated within the industry to make sure we're not setting a borrower up to fail.
And that's extremely important, Barbara McIntyre, because a lot of people have a disillusionment about, oh, well, I can just get this in a heartbeat. But when you receive a call, you actually visit that person or invite them to your office and do an assessment on their financials and so forth, and what perhaps is going to be in their best interest, correct?
Right. It's really important to understand what every borrower is trying to accomplish by looking at the reverse mortgage. Some people are wanting to pay off an existing mortgage so they can eliminate a principal and interest payment on an existing mortgage that they currently have, and that by getting rid of that payment, they've changed their budget and their living style becomes better. Right. Some people, like you said before, Kay, they may have lost a spouse, and when that happened, their income is dramatically reduced.
Absolutely.
And they may be looking to tap into the reverse mortgage so they can have income that is a continuing source for as long as they remain in the home.
Exactly. Well, Barbara McIntyre, let's give your number, people just tuning in. How can they reach you?
They can reach me by calling 321-259-7880 right here in Brevard. And like you were saying earlier, basically the assessment is about, getting together and making sure first they understand the product, and then finding out what they're trying to accomplish, and then helping them through the education decide if it's really the right thing for them.
That makes perfect sense, Barbara McIntyre. I think that doing a radio show with you and the other partners that we have are participating in helping seniors of Brevard are those that have been selected that are really keen on educating our listening and readers and viewer audience, because there's so much to stay up on, and a lot of seniors, quite frankly, don't have access to a computer. If they do, they may go over to the library and they may get 20 minutes and say, okay, someone get a tap on the shoulder and say, you got to get off now.
Right.
And they're just trying to understand. And that's why it's so important that people understand what helping seniors of Brevard is all about, because I don't know of another nonprofit organization that reaches out with the outreach media that we do in order to try to educate and inform our seniors, their caretakers. And I want to put a special note out there, because we got a really cool event coming up here. And I have to just get off the sidetrack for just a moment, Barbara McIntyre.
Okay.
It's going to be called the Black and White Brunch and Art Auction, and it's going to be benefiting helping seniors of Brevard County. It's going to take place on Sunday, October 23rd. Doors are going to be opening at 11 a.m. But get this, folks, there's a complimentary brunch served from 11 to 2. There'll be a live auction beginning at 1 p.m. There'll be a silent auction. So again, in order for us to continue helping our seniors and helping our caretakers, our callers and everything, this is a major, major deal for helping seniors alive and cooking and helping those seniors. And we also have, and we'll have it displayed, showcased actually at the event. We have a 1992 XJS Jaguar Ruby Red with very little miles. So we're going to be offering car raffle tickets. One ticket's only $25, or you can give 5 tickets for a $100 donation. Again, this is all to helping seniors of Brevard. So mark your calendar, and if you have any questions, you didn't get those dates and the details, call me. My name is Kay Kaiser at 321-473-7770. Let me tell you, I'm just seeing on the computer screen, this car is a beauty. It's a beauty. Anybody who wins this car is going to be, they're going to be at seventh heaven riding around Brevard County with this.
Absolutely.
Oh, but back to Barbara McIntyre with reverse mortgage funding. Barbara, we didn't talk about what age can somebody qualify to actually be able to look at a reverse mortgage?
Okay, that's a very important question. The borrower that's on the title to the home has to be at least 62 years old or older.
Okay.
And another protection that has actually taken place over the years is protections now around what we call a non-borrowing spouse. So if the borrower has a spouse who's younger, we wanted to make sure that there were protections so that that spouse who is younger and not really on the title to the home would be able to have a life interest if anything happened to the borrower or the spouse that did the mortgage.
That's an interesting point.
And
I hadn't heard that before.
Well, it's a big change.
That is a big change.
It is.
My goodness sakes.
And it definitely adds additional protection, and that was the whole idea of making that work so that that spouse that was not on the mortgage or title to the home would definitely be protected if something happened to her spouse.
Well, that's very important. Well, if I'm not mistaken, I think I recall you either doing a program for TV or something maybe in print that you actually took advantage of a reverse mortgage. Is that correct?
That's absolutely true. When I turned...
I just gave your age
you
away.
You did, but that's
Sorry
okay.
about that.
I'm not too shy about that.
Okay.
That's all right.
All right, good.
When I turned 62, I decided, based on my knowledge of this product, and back to what we spoke about earlier, the line of credit and its growth, the way that that line actually gives you access to more and more equity without doing anything, I decided to do a reverse mortgage, put what I call a standby line of credit. So it's in place.
Okay.
I don't need to use it because I'm working and I'm doing fine. I don't have any need for it. And that is going to continue to compound in its growth, unrelated to what real estate does. So my idea, it's very interesting.
Yes.
So my idea, and the idea of many financial planners that are starting to realize this standby line of credit and that growth feature can absolutely be another resource, another protection to have to help people not run out of money in retirement. Mine I plan to use for long-term health care.
That's what I recall you
That's
mentioned.
right.
Yes.
So when I'm 82, it is going to have grown to a considerable amount of money. And if I need some home health care services by some of the other companies that are involved in helping seniors, I'll have the funds and the resources to pay for that.
Well, that's you've got great insight on it. Of course, you're in the business, Barbara McIntyre, but for the people out there that are in the quote baby boomer range,
exactly,
have no clue what they may have available to them. So, if they're 62, now I'm sure there has to be, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there has to be a certain amount of equity they have in that home in order to qualify for a reverse mortgage.
Yes, it's the benefit of the product is driven by age. So a 62-year-old is probably only going to be able to tap into about 50% of their home's value. So they have to have enough equity available to them to be able to tap into that and extinguish a forward mortgage if they have one.
Okay.
Or if they don't and they want to just use 50% of the value of the home and have it available in that growing line of credit, then that works fine too.
Let's talk about that a moment, Barbara McIntyre, because again, you start at 62, but if somebody 82 might be having a more and larger advantage versus 62.
Absolutely. The older the borrower,
Okay.
the more money is going to be available. And if you think about it, because this mortgage doesn't require a payment, then interest that's attached to the loan is
Okay.
going to be rolling into the loan, and the loan balance is going to be getting larger.
Okay.
So
that
that's
makes
why
sense.
the
Okay.
benefit is going to be definitely tied to the age of the borrower, because the assumption is a 62-year-old will live a lot longer than an 82-year-old.
Right.
And
Right.
and because the house is the only asset that will ever be used to repay this debt. This is called a non-recourse loan. That means that the heirs, any other asset the borrower has, no one will have to pay more back to the lender than whatever that house will be able to pay.
All right.
And so on the
okay.
basis of that, we use age to determine the starting point,
Okay.
how much money they can tap into.
Oh, let's go back to the baby boomer for
Okay.
a moment, Barbara McIntyre. And again, I want to refresh our listening audience. My name is Kay Kaiser, and our guest today is Barbara McIntyre with Reverse Mortgage Funding. I am personally the information specialist for helping seniors of Brevard. So I try my best in sitting in for Joe Steckler to try to bring out with these guests on the radio what makes this so unique in the services. So you said you start at 62 years of age. And let's see, maybe we can equate and give a visual picture, if we may, Barbara McIntyre.
Sure.
Let's say a 62-year-old has a $200,000 home.
Okay.
Okay, and out of the $200,000, they may have left maybe $50,000 on the mortgage. Would that be a good qualifying person for this?
Yes, certainly it would.
Okay.
They would probably, just to give an idea, they would probably be able to pay off the $50,000 mortgage that they currently have
With the reverse mortgage.
with the reverse mortgage.
That's why I'm bringing this out.
That's
because
right.
How you can utilize those funds.
Right. You take the reverse mortgage. The first thing that happens is the existing mortgage is paid off with the reverse mortgage.
Okay.
Now you don't have a mandatory payment that has to be made, but
Right.
but just to restate it, it is a flexible payment option. You can certainly make payments if you want to, and a 62-year-old might want to continue making payments.
In order for that equity to build.
That's right, to have
Right.
more in the line of credit. So
Okay.
back to how that would work, if the house is $200,000, you're going to pay off a $50,000 mortgage, you'd still have probably $50,000 in a line of credit. So you'd
Okay,
have about
that's-
50%, you're using about 50% of the equity to accomplish that goal. The
Okay.
50% that is in this standby line of credit can be drawn for any reason, and I have to certainly mention there is no income tax on the proceeds because it's a loan.
Okay, that's another question I was going to ask.
Right.
So when the person does their individual income tax return, this still would be an advantageous
Absolutely.
route for them to take.
As a matter of fact,
Wow.
for boomers and seniors now
Yeah.
on Medicare, your cost of Medicare is going to be driven based on your income.
Right.
So there are strategic ways to use housing wealth to keep your income at a level that doesn't throw you to a higher requirement
Bracket.
of paying. Exactly.
Higher bracket.
And like I said, a lot of financial advisors are starting to realize that there's many strategic uses for and we call it reverse, but it's really called a HECM.
Heckum.
Stands for Home Equity Conversion Mortgage.
Aha.
That is the
See.
FHA insured reverse mortgage. Reverse is just a nickname.
Okay, and we're not going to refer to it what it was called 12 years ago, because this is not the mortgage of the last resort.
No, it's a lot different.
It sounds like it's so creative, Barbara McIntyre, on what a person can do, whether they're a baby boomer or they're actually 82 or whatever their situation may be.
Absolutely.
They've got suddenly different options to look at
Right.
that they never ever would have even thought about before. So
Right.
I want to shout out your number again because they
Okay.
need to get a hold of you. You're so full of that information here today that I think is just valuable to our listening
Well,
audience.
thank you. And my number is 321-259-6955. 7880. Call anytime. I'll answer your questions anytime.
And she will, folks, let me tell you, because as I mentioned on the first part of the program, I had a very confused caller who had a fellow from Orlando, and she had she signed up for that reverse mortgage, and Barbara took her hand by the, took her by the hand and got her oriented and educated so that she would really understand what she has.
Right, and she's since written me the sweetest note thanking me for doing that, and that she's finally getting a good night's sleep.
Wow, the pressure is off my shoulders now.
Right, that's right.
Well, we've got about 6 minutes left in our program. For those who didn't get Barbara's telephone number, by all means, call Helping Seniors of Brevard, because obviously I'm on the radio program today, but we record all of our voice messages, so I promise we will call you back, and our number is 321-473-7770. Okay, Barbara McIntyre, you talked about briefly, actually did not, but this may surprise a lot of our listening audience. Can a person use a reverse mortgage to buy a home?
Absolutely.
How the heck will that work?
Basically, what HUD said was, why would we make someone buy a house and then turn around and do a refinance transaction to do the reverse? Why not just let them use the reverse mortgage to purchase the home? And so in 2010, that's what they did. It works virtually exactly the same. You have a purchase price of your home.
Right.
We take the age of the youngest borrower on title.
Okay.
And that person is 62 or older, the youngest borrower.
Okay.
And then we say, what is the mortgage going to give you based on this purchase price? And once we determine that, then the borrower, will just bring the cash
to the table.
Now you have a home that you have put no more than 50%, because the 50% we talked already at 62, it's about 50%.
Right.
So the older you are, you may need to just bring 40%, or you know, and now you're in the home you want for your retirement, and you no longer have a mortgage payment.
Can we relate that with a visual again, Barbara McIntyre? Let's go back to that 200,000.
Okay.
Okay. And let's say somebody's now 72. I'm gonna go in between the 62 and 82 range here. Okay. Do some quick math. And they want to purchase a home, and they've got the 50,000 left as far as owed on the mortgage?
No, if you're purchasing a home, remember, here's your purchase is 200. So now it's as if there is no mortgage.
Okay.
So we're going to say if you're 72 and you want to purchase a $200,000 home, then the loan may actually give you 130,000 maybe. And again, I hate doing this, so just throwing numbers out there. Right.
But that's more than a deposit is needed.
Well, of course. It's always going to be whatever you bring. If that's what the mortgage is going to give you, then you're just going to bring the difference. So you would bring the 60 or 1,000.
Whatever the difference
Whatever
would be.
the difference is.
Okay.
And so you're actually, because if you think about it, Kay, what happens a lot of times is people that buy homes in that age, they don't want to now take on a mortgage payment.
Sure.
So they oftentimes are ready to pay cash for the house.
Right.
This is a way for them to buy the house with less of their cash and keep more of their cash working for them.
Wow. That's fascinating. See, I think that a listener today, if they knew what was available through Barbara McIntyre, who works for Reverse Mortgage Funding, is educating you today, there would be a lot more people looking into this program. And again, Barbara, let's give that telephone number here one last time to our listening audience. How can they reach you?
321-259-7880.
Okay, so if you've been driving in the car and yet tuned in on this program today for Helping Seniors of Brevard, such valuable information. Well, Barbara McIntyre, we have about 2 minutes left in our program. Is there anything that you personally would like to bring out to the listening audience that you feel it's important to maybe summarize?
Yeah, more than a summary, what I would say is that a lot of people are seeing TV commercials.
Oh, all the time. And
all the time.
The famous
Tom
actors
Selleck
on.
beat my, my beating heart.
Yeah, I know. He can sell anything.
That's
oh my
right.
gosh.
And it really is very simplified. This is an intricate financial product, and just working with someone over a telephone, which is for that particular company, it's a phone bank.
Yeah.
It's not the best way. So give a call.
I understand. Well, if you didn't get her number, by all means call Helping Seniors of Brevard. And that number is 321-473-7770. This has been an information-packed radio program today, and we hope that they're all like that, because people listen in and they say, I learned something every time I do this. And just the fact that you can buy a house even with a reverse mortgage, give Barbara McIntyre a call, because she has got very valuable information, and she will take the time to talk to you and explain all the different attributes that a reverse mortgage can do for you. So with that being said, I want you to tune in next week. We'll have our guest, I believe, Bill Johnson, an elder law certified attorney, and we've got some great stuff for you. So thank you, Barbara McIntyre, and thanks.